Okay, so welcome to our session on smart green urban transport, and a huge thank you to Hilary and Alistair and Julian who've joined us to set the scene today. So this session really is all about place, and our place being the Oxcam Arc, and we need to let you know about what opportunities that may open up for you within that area. So we're hoping that this event will be about facilitating collaborations between different organisations who are operating in the same place. So you're going to hear in this session from Hilary Chipping, who is the CEO of SEMLEP, and she'll give us a broad top-line view of where we are as a region at the moment and where we're hoping to be. And then you'll hear from from Alistair Lomax, who's the director at the Arc Universities Group, and he'll be discussing some of the latest innovations in our sector. And he will be followed then by Julian Bowery, who's the regional manager for the East and South East Midlands. And he works for Innovate UK, and he'll be discussing our UK's support for innovation in this area. And in particular, decarbonisation of road and rail and smart road and rail, logistics and plans for future funding, and your opportunities to collaborate with different stakeholders. And then finally, it'll come back to me, and I'll explain how you might get started on this journey and maybe continue further relationships you already have, or build on new relationships with other companies in the region. So we're going to try and make it as interactive as possible. So we're going to be setting up some polls. So you'll find in the chat that there is a link to a poll that we're going to invite you to take part in shortly. And at the end, you can book some one-to-one sessions in the exhibition booths this afternoon if you want to talk with our team and find out how we can cater for your particular company. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Hilary and Alistair and Julian, and I will join you later. Over to you, Hilary. So this page is where we'd like to invite you to take part in the poll. So if you could do that whilst we're listening, and we'll collect the results at the end.
Thank you very much, Rachel. And hopefully my slides will pop up in a moment. But just while I'm waiting for that to happen, just want to say it's really great to have you all virtually here today. I know some of my colleagues were involved with events yesterday, and I heard feedback this morning that they were absolutely uplifted and energised by hearing from so many innovative businesses across our patch. So as Rachel said, you know, we're here to set the scene a bit, but particularly want to hear from you, and we're all here to help and support, because in order to deliver the innovative economic-led innovative growth across the Oxford to Cambridge Arc, you know, we need all of you to play a role. So thank you. Okay, well, this is just to sort of get the setting the scene about the South East Midlands. So as most of you will know, the South East Midlands area that we cover is Northamptonshire, Bedfordshire and Milton Keynes, and we're right at the centre of the Oxford to Cambridge Arc. And this strapline, where innovation fuels growth, came out of our local industrial strategy that we published back in 2019. And it really sort of sets the scene, and I'll say a bit more about this area at the centre of the Arc. We have fantastic opportunities, we have assets, we have the entrepreneurial spirit, we have skills, we have great institutions, universities, colleges, and most importantly, we have businesses with innovative ideas. So this is the area where we want to enable those opportunities to be commercialised and to really happen, and help businesses to start up and to scale up. Okay, so we published, let's say the Oxford to Cambridge Arc published an economic prospectus back in October, and that was very much, there's been a lot of work and discussions going on around this Oxford to Cambridge Arc. It's been a concept that's been around for many years, but I think there was a feeling that maybe this was a little bit sort of inward looking, local authorities talking to other local authorities, and what we really wanted to do was to set out the great opportunities opportunities for the Oxford-Cambridge arc and to put them to government at a time when we were hoping that there would be a government spending review that would set out their spending plans for the next few years. Now, clearly, because of the challenges of the COVID pandemic, that didn't happen, but we understand that this economic prospectus, and we can certainly give you links to the economic prospectus, the full document. It's on our website and in lots of other places as well. It was well received by government, and we understand that there will be further announcements and hopefully later in the year more funding opportunities coming along. But really, what is at the heart of the arc is this opportunity to be a global hub for innovation and the home to these exemplary models of green development, and we want to see the arc really contributing at a global level, and the vision and the ambition and the priorities we very much have set out in that prospectus. So I'll just see if I can move on to the next slide. And now I can't see any arrows at the bottom of the screen. Hopefully they will come. Here they come. So the next slide sets out a little bit in a bit more detail about the particular innovation themes across the arc. Here we are. Right. Okay. So here's a map, which hopefully you might not be able to see all of the dark writing, but really it's to give you an idea of the geography. So it covers all of Oxfordshire, the South East Midlands area that I talked about, all of Buckinghamshire, Cambridgeshire, and Peterborough, and with 10 universities across the arc. And Alistair's going to talk more about the contribution from the universities. This area has the highest density of research and development institutions, so great opportunity here for linking up, for sharing knowledge, and for those sort of cross-cutting themes. I mean, the little diagram at the top of the page talks about those opportunities around future transport, which we're particularly focusing on this morning, life sciences, aviation, and I think it's really one of the fantastic opportunities that we have in this area is for that crossover. So life sciences, engineering, we've got a great focus on creativity, and that really helps us to deliver the innovation agenda. So the 5 themes on the left-hand side of the screen are really the 5 areas of focus at the moment, and we set out in the prospectus, and we set out to government what we would like to achieve. In order to do that, we need investment from government, but we also need private sector investment, and we need to work with all of our innovative businesses. So setting up a life science innovation network, sustainable aviation, which Alistair is going to talk about specifically, UK Space Gateway, future mobility, and zero carbon energy. And the universities are particularly sort of leading on the first 3, but working very closely with local enterprise partnerships, and the local enterprise partnerships are sort of leading around the future of mobility and zero carbon energy. And I should say that the whole concept of the green arc, how we can enable economic growth at the same time as achieving net zero carbon and improving the environment. In the past, people probably thought you could have one or the other. You could have a fast growing economy, or you could have improvements to the environment. What we want to demonstrate within the arc is that you can have that green arc. You can have economic and innovative and environmentally and sustainably led growth. Now I will try to move on, as you will have picked up. Less of a lag that time. These are just a couple of maps to give you a feel for the density of assets and institutions that we have in this area that are focused around future transport and advanced engineering. So we produce these for a document called Make the Connection, which is also on our website, and I see John Rawcliffe may be able to give you a link to that as well. But it's not exclusively within the ARC geography. You know, there are lots of links to other universities and manufacturing opportunities in other parts of the country around future mobility. But we really do have this great strength around advanced engineering. We've got the cluster of high performance engineering and high tech innovation around Silverstone, which sort of is a spin out from the Formula One engineering, and that now that we're able to link the fantastic research that's going on in universities across the ARC, this gives us this huge opportunity, and as we call it, you know, the connected core of the Oxford to Cambridge ARC. So that connectivity, and you may well have heard about sort of infrastructure projects. I mean, East West Rail, for example, and only this weekend we heard that government are putting another nearly £800 million into that connectivity between Oxford, Bicester, Bletchley. Bletchley has a great history in terms of Bletchley Park, you know, the home of the first computer. We've now got an innovation institute of digital technology being developed there, and then hopefully that connectivity will take us across through Bedford and across to Cambridge. So let's see if we can move on to the next slide. Okay, well, this is just saying a little bit about what we've specifically done within the South East Midlands Local Enterprise Partnership. And we have a programme of investment through Local Growth Fund, £265 million programme, which we've been running since 2015-16. That programme will come to an end in March 2022. But so now we're getting to the really exciting phase of being able to showcase the projects that we've delivered with that funding. And the funding's been very much focused on delivering our local industrial strategy, so focusing on innovation, focusing on skills. We've funded a lot of colleges to ensure that we have the skills that we need in order to deliver this future mobility and green transport agenda. But looking at some of those projects there, and again, there's a lot more information about the individual projects, but you can see that, you know, ranging from Cranfield University, where SEMLEP invested in this test track for autonomous vehicles, linking very much with opportunities at Millbrook Proving Ground, where we've invested in a couple of projects there, looking at developing emissions testing facilities, particularly around heavy goods vehicles at Millbrook, and then at Marla in Northampton, again more vehicle emissions testing. So very important for the green agenda moving forwards. We've invested in an aerodynamic research facility, which is great because that was the Catesby Tunnel, which was on the former Great Central Line, and effectively the Great Central Line is for a lot of its length is where HS2 will now come forward. So, you know, there's a strong history in this area around transport and connectivity, and this agenda moving forwards, you know, looking at mobility and connectivity in a different way, in a sustainable way, is very much at the heart of what we do. I just wanted to particularly draw attention to the investment in the MK 5G network, because that's a fantastic opportunity. SEMLEP is doing that in collaboration with Milton Keynes Council, with the satellite applications CATAPULT and the Connected Places CATAPULT, the Open University, Tech Mahindra, City Fibre, lots of partners, and that will why SEMLEP has invested in that is it's about research. It's about people saying, great, you know, 5G, what are the opportunities? What could we do with it? And it's giving that opportunity to demonstrate in a real world practical environment how 5G can help to transform our world in terms of smart cities and healthcare opportunities, events, hospitality. We know MK Dons, for example, are going to be making use of the 5G facility, and they're going to create driverless shuttles, road vehicles for moving people and goods around the stadium site. So I think I just wanted to emphasise that we're really keen to invest and to work with organisations and businesses that are exploring and pushing at the boundaries of what can we do with innovative technology in this area of green transport and future mobility. So just moving on to the last slide now. Again, I just need to find the arrows at the bottom of the screen, which don't seem to be coming up at the moment. Right. Are they coming? No. Have you got any suggestions, Anita, as to how? Oh, here we are. Perfect. Right. So now we should be able to move on to the last slide, which really just, again, brings together what the Oxford to Cambridge ARC is all about. It's this global, has the opportunity, the potential to be a global innovation hub. We already have world-renowned assets, and if we can improve that connectivity, link businesses into the research and development opportunities in universities, then there really is the potential to transform the economy. We know we need more investment from government and from the private sector, but we do really see this area as the last bullet point says, it's a test bed. It's about new ways of living, new ways of working. We've got the space, we've got the imagination and the innovation in all of you listening to this, and we really want to show that in this part of the world we can deliver that net zero carbon environmental net gain that will be beneficial not just to this area, not just to other parts of the country, but hopefully we want this area to be able to participate at a global scale. So I'll stop there, Anita, and hand over to Alistair.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I always love going after Hilary in a presentation because she's so thorough. And I just wanted to pay tribute to the role that SEMLab's played. And I think back to some of the, when in the real world, I think it was 2 years ago at your AGM, and Peter giving and joined by colleagues from RSPB and from Cambridge Clean Tech. I think there's a kind of moment of shifting the whole debate into an area that I think we're taking forward now, which is how can you grow the economy and improve the environment? And that's a difficult thing, squaring that circle is a big challenge with COP26, with Biden, with all these things happening. And I think we're right in the heart of it. And it's a very exciting time. And I just wanted to say that, that actually that COVID has been challenging. We've also had Brexit with shifting relationships. And so everything's been thrown in the air. And I think that we're actually in quite a golden period of innovation. Because of those opportunities, and I hope that some of the stuff that's happening in the middle and that we're all advocates for and have been working to develop. I think if we can harness just a little bit of those things, then we can do something which could deliver benefit to everybody. And I'm going to speak a bit more about that as I go. But so the 9 universities, we're working together with business and government, very important that working together, and I'll come back to that, to support inclusive and sustainable economic growth. And there's a lot of work that's been going on on the environment and how that is embedded into the economic development program, and how we can nurture that and bring it forward with private sector and government backing, we hope. And this is about also the skills part. I mean, this is the university is very kind of the engine for growing global talent, for regional and national advantage. And you see, you know, right in the middle, we've got MKU beginning to deliver programs which are very much based on industry skills. We have these 4 great universities, the Open University with its great reach, Cranfield with its postgraduate emphasis on applied engineering technology and doing such great work that isn't in direct competition to Oxford and Cambridge. And there's a lot of collaboration of sharing of expensive kit that goes on. Northampton, you know, this beautiful new campus, £330 million worth, and the University of Bedfordshire, these sleeping or golden, I'd say, the University of Bedfordshire is a sleeping giant for SMEs. It's phenomenal, and just thinking of the potential to develop, because this happens at a kind of cellular level. And I've lost my arrows here. Oh, thank you. So I just wanted, we did a piece looking at the environment, and I just wanted to pick out how we'd used, this is working with Cranfield academics, and we looked at the capability that there is in the environment across the universities, and this has a lot of relevance to transport, but we picked out 4 main themes, which are how we operate now. We look at quality education, how we enhance the environment, a thriving economy and community, and governance and partnership. So how we work together. So this is very much a kind of moving forward together, taking everyone on the same journey. So it's quite a slow journey. And Anita, have you taken over the slides for me, or am I just hitting striking lucky? Oh, here we go.
No, you do have the control, Alistair.
Great.
If you keep hovering in the bottom left corner.
Yep, I'm hovering now. Here we go. Okay, so here are the universities, and the ones in the centre, you can see them there. This is a little bit, you know, we've tried to represent this as, you know, from west to east. The West End is down there with Oxford and Oxford Brookes, and then at the other end, Anglia Ruskin and University of Cambridge. And those two kind of, those two playing a completely different role from each other, but very much working together. And I'd say that the central ones, glued together by SEMLAP, are really powerful as a quartet. I'm just gonna, by the end of this, I might actually be able to drive. Maybe I need to click a little bit, click around. I'm fishing for it. Anita, I'm not finding these arrows. Oh, here we go. So just looking at, I just wanted to pop this up. This is the university spin-outs in Oxford, and there's so much of this has been, well, you've got the impression, it's a huge growth. They turn out about 50 spin-outs a year. And then the same with Cambridge. And I think there's relatively little in the middle. But this has taken, that particular picture started in 1958. So it's now very much in their culture, and I think we've got a lot to learn. So the 3 projects from the economic prospectus, Life Sciences Network, and the 2 that I'd like to talk about today, sustainable aviation and a space gateway. And those both relevant, very relevant to the future of transport. I mean, the aviation and the unique positioning within the arc of this R&D intensity, of having Oxford and Cambridge, Cranfield, but also Buckinghamshire New University doing skills, Anglia Ruskin working on logistics and modelling, and Luton Airport just down the road being a very interesting model, owned mainly by a local authority. And there are completely new job titles emerging in all our airports. Sustainability teams are really becoming quite powerful, and the whole paradigm is shifting. So that's the aviation one. But I mean, just thinking about the way that space and low-level satellites will deliver a transformation to logistics, to smart transport, to the kind of stuff that's happening already, Amazon to drone technology to it. So our way of this really is. I mean, something that came up in the industrial strategies was this as a kind of living lab and a test bed for things that could happen in the rest of the country. And the other thing that all these projects are about, leveling up. They really are And I think we're only just beginning to understand that because of the impact that they will have on the rest of the UK. So I'll shut up now. Thank you. Julian.
I'm Julian Barry. I'm Regional Manager for Innovate UK for this part of the world. And hopefully we can move the slides on. So while the slides are going, the first couple of slides is just going to be really a reprise of what my boss Stuart said to the plenary session yesterday, just in case any of you missed it. Innovate UK is the nation's innovation agency. We're here to help ambitious companies to grow through innovation, really by helping you to de-risk your innovation. And we do that in two ways. We do that by providing money in the form of grants and loans, and a little advert for the session later on this afternoon, where one of my colleagues will be talking about the loans program. But then we also do it by making connections. And we've got three members of our family who are in the business of making connections. There's the Knowledge Transfer Network, who, as well as organising great events like this, also convene a whole range of special interest groups where industry, academics, inventors, you name it, come together to share knowledge, share expertise, and often to partner together to develop new ideas. We've got Innovate UK Edge, which used to be the Enterprise Europe Network, and that's about providing bespoke business support advice to our portfolio of innovative companies. And also we have the CATAPULT network, 12 catapults around the country around particular themes where we think there are real opportunities for UK industry to innovate and grow and to develop overseas markets. We're very lucky in that we've got two, if not three, very close to this region. You've got the SatApps Catapult in Harwell, you've got the Connected Places Catapult in Milton Keynes, and also the Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult in Stevenage. They are national resources, but take advantage of the fact they're on our doorstep. So that's just a very quick overview of what Innovate is for those of you who might have missed yesterday. Then moving on to talk about today's theme, and you'll be pleased to know I think there's some consistency between what's happening locally and what's happening nationally. So government published its 10-point plan for a green industrial revolution the end of last year. I think the point I'd want to make there is, government is clearly very committed to the green agenda. Whether you're cynical and think, well, that's because they've got COP26 happening in Scotland later in the year, or for whatever reason, this is something that's not going to go away as far as the government is concerned. There are legal obligations that the government has set itself. There are international obligations. And so from a business point of view, one of the things that businesses want is certainty. And I think what we're getting increasingly from the government is that long-term commitment. Now, as Hilary was saying, a lot will depend on what happens in the comprehensive spending review. But nevertheless, as a sort of direction of travel, sustainability, net zero is a topic that's not going to go away. And thinking back to when I was referring to helping companies de-risk, in some ways, this is an integral part of your de-risking strategy. And also it means that innovative companies are probably being approached by more traditional companies to come on board. So you think about Shell buying an electric charging company a couple of days ago. Also, it should be easier for you to get finance than maybe it was 10 years ago if you're saying, I want to create a circular economy company doing something. So it's a really important context to what we're doing is this sort of global and government commitment around greener infrastructure and green ways of doing things. And that's followed up by what we're doing in Innovate UK. So the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund, right, over £1 billion is going to be invested in Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund over the next 3 or 4 years. Some of that commitment has already been made. I think in the video, Ian Gray was probably standing in front of something that was funded by the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund. But again, as you can see, reinforcing my point, the future of mobility, clean growth, high priorities to the government, and there are significant resources going into supporting innovation and the research base to support mobility and clean growth. And again, I think I'd reinforce Alistair's point. This is both really exciting technologies. So Sabre reaction engines are actually based in Oxfordshire rather than in this part of the world. So if anyone out there has a really sexy space story or a slide they want to send me, which is based in Semlet rather than over the border in Oxfordshire, then do send it to me and I'll use it next time. But as you can see, the theme here is it's both those cutting edge technologies of the sort that Reaction are developing, but at the same time, it's very practical stuff. So again, being hopefully sort of on message at the end, about 10 years ago, yeah, it must have been about 10 years ago, I organised a local government conference at the SATAP's CATAPULT. And I sort of sold it to my local authority colleagues as, you can have a rocket with the city of Bradford on it, and it's all going to be great. And when they got there, they realised it was actually not about their own civic rocket, but really about learning how you can make use of data to improve the delivery of public services. And you know, after they got over the "where's the rocket, Julian," they realised there was a purpose for me bringing them to the SATAP's CATAPULT to have that meeting. And you know, the name's on the tin, isn't it? It's about how we use the data that's generated from satellites, along with all the other data we can gather to allow us to innovate, to modernise, to provide better services, whether all public or private services. And that's, you know, that's the sort of space story, isn't it? Then going on to the next slide. Excellent. Electrification. I mean, universities, companies, including Luton Airport, very much at the heart of the future of aviation and the electrification of aerospace. So this is something from Rolls-Royce. They have their own roadmap. And it's really interesting, I think, that it's a sophisticated story. And like all these things, it's how do you take advantage of those market opportunities and identifying what the customer base is and where the commercial opportunities are. So, you know, probably from this roadmap, if you're looking to fly long haul, you know, purely by electric, then probably you've got a long time to wait. But if you're looking for short haul flights, then probably electric is perfectly possible because there are electric airplanes flying right now and some of them flying out of Cranfield Airport. And then we heard from a company in one of the previous sessions that are developing drones. And Innovate, we're sort of interested in drones. And that's a bit a reflection of the customer base we have. We have people who are really enthusiastic about technology and like flying drones, you know, who doesn't? But what we're really interested in is what are the commercial applications of this. So one of the strengths in this part of the world is the logistics industry, is the transport infrastructure industry. So in terms of logistics, how can you use drones as part of that mix around last mile delivery? You know, we had a number of projects that were interested during the first lockdown about how you can use drones to fly, you know, lightweight but precious medical equipment to remote rural areas. How do you deliver in remote rural areas? Maybe drones are part of the solution. Likewise, infrastructure. At the moment, a lot of people spend a lot of time, you know, climbing up electricity pylons to make sure they're all right. That's quite dangerous work potentially, particularly if you're in a, you know, 70 or 80 meters up on a wind pylon. Sorry, I've lost what you call it. But drones can be used for that. Drones are a way of actually getting smarter at inspecting our key infrastructure, as well as getting things to us more quickly. So it's not just about the technology, it's what's the business case, what's the use case. And then finally, smart cities. I put this slide in because a long time ago, when I was doing my planning degree, I wrote in the transport planning section an essay about walking is transport. And this is just a reminder to say that, you know, it's not all about autonomous pods. Most urban transport is probably going to continue to be people walking, people cycling, and we're just as interested in that. And we know there's a generation of innovators who are really interested in the environment, in social benefits. And so don't think that the only innovation you've got is something which involves a bit of kit and really sophisticated technology. It could be something that's really straightforward around putting people in touch with each other to allow them to find the quickest routes to somewhere, or things like that. So we're interested in, you know, the behavioral science of adaptation and adoption of things just as much as we are with the high tech. How do we create a connected world? And also with a fit of nostalgia, I had to put in Luton Airport Parkway Station because I used to spend a lot of time there, and I'm really looking forward one day, even if I'm not allowed to fly, getting on the Dart monorail and going up the hill to the airport. And that too, public transport is going to be part of the mix. So we encourage everyone to think, and the Connected Places Catapult is really part of that. You know, smart is not just autonomous vehicles, that's part of the picture, but a lot of it is around how do we actually get smarter in doing the things that are healthier for us, better for the environment, and actually make more convivial and urbane environments. I recognise it's different in the rural areas, but you know, in urban areas, then you know, the motivation for having our own car is probably going to decline a bit. So how do we respond to that? So that's just a quick run through what Innovate is doing and what Innovate is interested in, and the support you can get if you are a company wanting to play in this space to innovate in smart transport, smart cities. Then do get in touch with the Connected Places Catapult, with the SATAP's Catapult, with any of the universities in the Art Universities group. They will all have expertise in this. And finally, if you don't think the connections are enough for you that we can make, then do have a look at our funding finder on the new UK Research and Innovation website. You can get email alerts, and you know, as you can see, and I didn't even time this, this is just the latest the latest competition that's gone up a couple of days ago, is looking at moving the UK automotive sector to zero emissions. So do take a look at our funding finder as well, because there are lots of competitions around. And equally, if you're interested in exporting, you know, most urban growth is happening in the cities in China and India and elsewhere in the world. And the UK has a great reputation for exporting its planning and architecture and building consultancy services to other parts of the world. So don't feel it's solely about using this country as a test bed for your great ideas. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Julian. Just listening to you talk about Luton Dart, I've been watching it grow almost daily, pole by pole and bridge by bridge, and I agree with you, it's going to be amazing when it...
Are they running trains on it yet? Are they testing running trains? Oh.
Not that I've seen anyway, but it is going to be, I think they just fall off. There's one bridge that's stopped over the A505. So,
well, we don't want that.
no, but that kind of innovation and technology is what we're talking about today. That was really future thinking and forward thinking, and getting those collaborations together is really important. So thank you for that. I'd also just like to remind everybody who's in the room, if you haven't taken part in the poll yet, my colleagues Simona and Oksana have shared the link in the chat. So we really do need to hear from you today, because we want to find out what your barriers are, how we can help, where the sticking points are. So please do take a couple of minutes just while I'm chatting to take part. And there you go, Simone's just move the poll link in there again for you. So thank you very much indeed. So my section now is going to be all about how you can get involved, the practical side of it. What do I do next? So at the University of Bedfordshire, research and knowledge exchange is really at the heart of what we do, and our academics and graduates really appreciate getting involved with live projects and case studies and helping businesses grow. So we really want to make a really significant social and economic impact on the local and national economy. So there we go, that moved on quite nicely. So what we want to do is try and help your business grow. And we want to innovate through a range of different programs. And today I'm just going to give you a kind of brief overview of some of the projects we run, but we'd also like to give you an opportunity to come and have a chat with our team. So you can sign up for one-to-ones and also in the exhibition rooms. I met with some people yesterday and some other colleagues are available this afternoon and tomorrow. So please do sign up for that. It's really valuable because we can listen to what you need and sort of signpost you to the right project for you. So if you do have time, would really appreciate you signing up for those. So we can help with different things. We can help with people, with graduates, we can help with funding, and we can help with academic consultancy. So I'm just going to talk you through what that looks like, if the buttons will allow me to. Looks like I've got the same issue that other people have with the arrows. There we go. Okay, thank you. So the first project I'm going to talk about is called Innovation Bridges. With this project, you are entitled to 20 hours of academic support, academic consultancy, completely free of charge. It's a fully funded program, and that can be on anything. So, you know, in my daily living, I get involved with all kinds of projects from robotics, AI, deep learning, yoga, book publishing. So it could be anything you have an issue with, anything you need advice about, and we'll match you with an academic who can give you that advice that you require. And there's also an option of a grant attached to that program as well. And if you're interested in a co-funded Masters by Research or a PhD, with this project, we can give 50% funding towards that. So that could be a really great opportunity for some of you that are interested in that. Let's try and move our slides on. And there's just a reference to the Masters by Research. So our second project I'm going to talk about is called Time2Grow, and this one is a graduate job. So if you have a problem, a challenge, something that you need investigating, but you don't really want to take on someone full time or assign one of your existing employees just to that project, you can let us know and give us a job description. We will recruit with you, or sorry, for you, because we work in partnership with the University of Northampton on this particular project, and their uni temps are able to advertise the role for you, and obviously you can advertise it in your own way through Indeed or whoever else you normally use, and we will send across CVs, and then you can choose a graduate who has the skills and knowledge and expertise that you need. It'll be a short-term contract and we subsidise their salary. So that's always good if you don't particularly want to invest a huge amount of money, if you're not sure whether that person's the right person long-term. But if you like them, you can keep them on in a full-time role. And if you want to investigate 2 different areas, you're allowed to have 2 different people. So that works really well. Just moving on. There we go. Oh, gone on twice. I wasn't patient enough. Let me go back. There we go. So our next project is called Alphas, and there are lots of different strands to Alphas. So the first strand is offering free business support workshops, and we try and make these a bit bespoke. We try and listen to what you guys need. So the main areas we think about might be leadership and management, or cybersecurity, maybe digital skills or finance. And we put that out to you and say, okay, what are your challenges in these areas? Tell us what you need help with. And then our professors of practice will deliver sessions based on your needs. So of course, there's some generic material that they'd like to get out there for you, but we try and make it as bespoke as possible. The second strand would be the graduate secondment. Now, this often works really well on the back of the Time2Grow project. So you could have a short-term kind of try before you buy with the graduate on Time2Grow, 280 hours. But if you like them, you could extend it through alphas and have an additional 400 hours. So that would mean in total, you could probably have a graduate working for you before maybe 8 or 9 months, and you would only pay £5.30 an hour. But they would receive approximately £12.30 an hour with their holiday allowance. So it's quite a good salary for a young graduate, but also you don't have to put all of that money in yourself. It will be subsidized and you can still get the work done. In addition, you also get with that an academic who would supervise the graduate. So you get an extra 10 hours where the graduate could come across a problem perhaps and then refer to their academic to get some support. So it's a really great value project. Next, in partnership with SEMLEP and the University of Northampton and Cranfield, we have the Growth Curve project. Now this one again is about high growth. We want to see what are your areas for development, maybe give you some steering, some direction, and our professors of practice will work with you over a series of workshops to kind of tailor what direction your company should be going in and how we can best support you through that. They're very much individual and very much drawing on where you are now and also where you hope to be. So it's like a roadmap of where you want to grow. So that one is called Growth Curve. Let's see if I can move on. Lastly, some of you may have heard of knowledge transfer partnerships. I personally think this is probably one of the best kept secrets. They've been running for about 45 years, and the number of businesses I speak to that have never heard of them, it's just the most fantastic scheme. So you have a three-way partnership between a university, any graduate from any university in the UK in the last 5 years, and your company. And the way that it would work is that you would come to the university and say, okay, we've got this idea, it's an innovative idea, it's going to use new technology or it's going to jump us ahead of our competition, but we just need some academic expertise and we need a graduate who knows what they're doing. And we would put an application together, we'd write it together with our academics and submit it. Hopefully it gets approved. And then we would recruit a graduate that would be able to work full-time for you, but we subsidise their salary. Now it's supported by the Knowledge Transfer Network, Innovate UK and other funders, and it could be a collaborative grant that comes from 2 different funders. You will get 2 academics working for you. One comes at 10% of their time, so they'll come and work for your company, in your company as part of the project. You might get a second or even third academic on occasions that have different areas of expertise. So say, for example, it's, I don't know, a sensors project, and you would have your main graduate who would be working away on developing the sensors with an academic, but then 3/4 of the way through the project, you might decide, okay, well, we're ready to go to market now. We need a marketing expert, and we could have someone from business school working alongside just to kind of get the product to market. They generally run for around 2 years, a little bit longer sometimes, and they're just a really interesting way of getting new ideas, innovation out into the sector. Let's see if I can move on. So last year, a different type of KTP was launched called a management KTP. And this goes back to some of the things that have been mentioned already. It may be that you have this amazing innovative product, amazing innovative technology that you need to get out there. But somehow there's a barrier in your company, a barrier in the organization that's stopping it moving forward. And the management KTP would look at your processes. It could be marketing, it could be logistics, it could be anything to do with the actual process within your company, and really upskill the staff and make sure everybody's heading in the right direction. So that's a really great initiative that's come forward. So just to give you a glimpse of the kind of companies that we've been working with in the past, I've got a little video here from Clearview, and I'm going to play that now, hopefully. Fingers crossed the technology works. Oh, sorry, I've gone forward. Okay, fingers crossed. Okay, I'm just going to pause it there. So in summary, our programs can offer you grassroots level, hands-on consultancy, grants, graduates, and general advice and support to get you to the next stage for your business. So if any of the programs I've spoken about are of any interest whatsoever, please do come along, have a chat with the team this afternoon or tomorrow, or you can message us. And I know that these slides will be sent out towards the end of the event, and all of our contacts are on there. So now over to Anita. Hopefully she'll be able to share the results of the poll that you've been taking part in, and we'll open up for Q&A once we've had the results of that poll. So Anita, how's that looking? Great. Okay, so the first question we asked was, which sector are you active in? And it looks like the majority are in future energy and future transport, which is why you're in the room in the first place. So that's great. Other, it might be interesting to see if you could pop in the chat what the other is, because it's nice to know who else is in the room, because it may be that you can collaborate with the energy and transport companies as well. So that would be very useful. Thank you very much. If you can move on to the next question. Or have I got control? Oh, you have. Brilliant. Love the bubbles. They're really good. So what are the barriers to innovation? Finance and funding is the big one, isn't it? Yeah. So obviously the universities and the art group, we can all help with signposting you to finance and funding and help with bid support. We have a bid support team at the University of Bedfordshire, and we can support you through the bid writing process, and hopefully with their expertise, you'll be successful in your bids. So a few people have said skilled graduates and upskilling current staff and academic expertise as well. So that's interesting. It's a little spread across there. Thanks, Anita. That's interesting. So are your customers based along the Oxcom arc? Half and half. Very interesting. So it sounds like we've got a hub for developing things, but we are actually reaching out across the country nationally and perhaps internationally. So that's very interesting to see. So if anybody would like to pop in the chat where else their customers are based, that would be very interesting to know. Thank you, Anita. Next slide, please. Phrase of the year. So are your suppliers based along the Oxcam arc? Obviously, this is a logistical question, and it's a bit of a mixture. I think slightly, obviously, no, they're not. They could be based anywhere. So again, if you could pop in the chat where your suppliers are based, and then that gives us a real good indicator of how far your reach is. Thanks, Anita. Okay, which of these challenges are you facing or need help with? It looks like funding is the main one still, isn't it? Yeah. Interesting. Well, we're all here to help, and hopefully if we collaborate, joint applications with joint skills and joint investment, perhaps we can be more successful for you. I think we had one more question, but that may have been it. I can't remember. Okay. We asked if you wanted to tell us anything, and you said no, so that's fine. So if I just have a look at the chat very quickly, I'm going to scroll up and see if anything jumps out at me as something that would be interesting to raise in this plenary. Hilary, going back to your presentation, Kashif, I actually spoke to Kashif yesterday, and he was asking a bit more, if you could tell us a bit more about the Future of Mobility programme. They're developing some radar sensors for driverless cars, which is amazing, and they're looking for some collaboration and funding. So I don't know whether you could just give us a bit of information about that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rachel. Thank you also to Kashif and everybody that's participating. I mean, I think it would be so lovely if we were all in a room together, but hopefully we can do this joining up virtually, because joining up and collaboration, I do think is what this is all about. I do understand everybody wants funding. You're not alone. But what I would perhaps just say a little bit about what we as SEMLEP can hopefully offer, working really closely with all of our university colleagues and our local authority colleagues and skills providers. But I talked about the future of mobility. That's one of the that was one of the government's grand challenges that were set out in the industrial strategy. Julian's given a very helpful little update in the chat bar about how government might be refreshing those grand challenges at some point. But I think the future of mobility will be really, really important. So just a couple of things. I'll say a little bit about what SEMLEP can do, but I also just wanted to pick up on some of the things that Julian was saying in his presentation, just to emphasise that even more so now that we've been living through the pandemic, working from home, perhaps not travelling in the conventional way as we used to, but linking up more digitally. I think there are some real opportunities for doing things differently in the future, and I think some of this work around behavioural insights and what that means for the future could be a really good area to be focused in at the moment, because things will be different. I think we know that, people are talking about the new normal or whatever, but the more that we can use innovation and technology to transition into this new way of working, the better. And the emphasis on rural areas, I do think that there's a lot of opportunities for using innovative technologies around sustainable public transport, demand responsive transport. I'd love to see somebody wanting to do a real live project around how we can get better public transport, because walking and cycling's great, but the distances may be too long, or if you're taking children around going to school, we need to focus on that area. So just wanted to make that point. But in terms of SEMLEP, in our local industrial strategy, which again is on our website, we talked about why this area, particularly at the centre of the Oxford to Cambridge arc, has so many unique assets, both historically and in the future, for looking at new ways of travelling. And Milton Keynes, with the focus on autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, we'll be moving towards. And that's really what we as a local enterprise partnership wanted to bring out, those opportunities. In terms of funding, I outlined a few of the projects that we have been able to fund with our local growth fund. We're waiting for government announcements, as so many people are, in terms of future funding opportunities. But what we can really do as a local enterprise partnership, and I think some of you will have already seen John Rawcliffe, my colleague, my business development manager for SEMLEP, putting comments in the chat line. John and his colleague Richard Cook, our Growth Hub team headed by Vicky Kamuka, Emmanuel Clement, who's probably been on some of the calls you may have been on. We're all here to help you join up. So it's about joining up your ideas with other people with ideas, with the academic and research experience in the universities, and the fact that we can now do this across this wider area gives us even more opportunities. And I would say, in terms of accessing funding, and Rachel just mentioned it, and I think it's really important. And again, we're happy to talk to you. I know university is as well. If you're thinking about accessing funding, it's very important to be absolutely clear about your project, what it is you want to deliver, who your partners are, have you got any match funding, and to be able to understand the way projects are appraised. So, the detail of benefit cost ratios, the government's Green Book approach, all of that. There's a lot of detail there, and universities are happy to help. And that's a really important first step. So I can see from what's coming out of the poll, funding as ever, accessing funding is really important. But I would just say being prepared and ready to access that funding is also important.
Thank you so much. That's exactly what I was thinking. That we have a bid support team sat there ready and waiting. So, come and have a chat with us, and we can certainly signpost everybody. So I have a question here from Perry. Great name, by the way. And it's a question for Julian. Are the industrial strategy priorities remaining as they are? They were first published in 2016-17 and have had many great competitions since. So I was wondering if they're being reviewed. Over to you, Julian.
Yeah, I mean, I did answer this in the chat, but just briefly, I think BEIS are looking at refreshing the industrial strategy. Certainly that was the case under the previous Secretary of State. We've not heard anything from our new Secretary of State that's changed. So I'd expect there to be a refresh of the industrial strategy coming out alongside a whole host of other documents in the spending review. The government had a 1-year spending review or 1-year roll forward 1-year budgets. Some of those were 3 years. So some of the big investments that UKRI makes in some of its big capital programs was got 3-year settlement, and mostly we're waiting for the economy to calm down sufficiently for there to be a spending review, and there'll be a refresh of the industrial strategy alongside that. As I said, I don't think it's going to change. I don't think the headline topics will change. What I'm sure will happen will be some tweaking of the programs, because as Perry was implying, some of those programs have actually used up all their allocation. So the question then will be, do we continue with this because actually we're onto something? And something like the Faraday Battery Challenge, I think people will say, yes, we're onto something. Where there could be some other programs, I'm not going to name them because I don't know, where it might be, well, that was actually a bit of a dead end, and we'll sort of close that down and invest in something that looks more promising. And that's the spirit behind that challenge-led funding, the idea that you put money in enough to make a difference, but then you have the ability to pull it out quickly if you find that actually it's not doing what you want it to. So it's all very speculative, but it is worth keeping an eye. And if you have a chance to influence, then do have conversations with people who you think might have the ear of any ministers you might know.
Thank you. Just a quick question from Anthony. To me, do you work with startup businesses based in the Cambridge area? Yes, we do. Quick answer. Can you help with small SME with bid writing and accessing funds? Yes, we have, and we can do. Angela says, we're very keen to lead and support small and large companies through R&D programs via public funding grants with industrial problems in the green energy sector. Although we can offer a free bid writing and development service, interesting, yet we do struggle to find companies to guide and steer our developments in the right direction. How do you think we can establish an efficient collaboration based on this? Come and talk to us. That's the simple answer. We've got 9-10 universities in the ARC, and we're all thriving on collaboration. So if you would like to be part of that, that's what this event is all about. So arrange a meeting with one of us. We're not precious. If we don't have the right academic expertise, we will signpost you to another university that does. So come and have a chat with someone in the team, and we can certainly help out. There's a few different questions here, some of which have been covered actually, so I won't reiterate those. So a question from Perry again at Ixion, I apologise. We're technology and sector agnostic. We help business and academia and third sector organisations identify and access funding that enables them to achieve their research and innovation ambitions. It's great to see that third sector is mentioned there. We haven't actually mentioned that much today, but we do support third sector organisations as well. So there could be a collaboration there that's waiting to happen. Angela said she's happy to help, and I think we've come to the end of the questions that were in the chat. So if anybody has anything else they would like to raise today, I think my key takeaway is, when you go to a course and you sit there for hours, you want to have one thing that you can take away and do the very next day or do today. And I think the one thing would be just to come and have a chat, book an appointment, book a meeting, email one of the team, and hopefully we'll be able to signpost you to a place where you can innovate and grow and collaborate with other people, like-minded people.